Hi and welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to show you how to make this delicious keto chili con carne with drop biscuits on top. But first of all, we are 2 days ahead now, and I'm going to take out some of the things from my freezers that we are going to be using. And I have some minced beef here with 1.5 kilos, and I'm going to use this one. And I also have these homemade onion top pesto balls that I made last summer, and I'm also going to take some of those out and use in my chili con carne and in the drop biscuits as well. And then I have these homegrown carrots that I shredded up last summer, and I'm also going to use a bag of those. If you feel that is too many carbs, you can just leave them out. But I'm making a very big portion, so it doesn't matter to me with some carrots in them. I think that's all for this freezer, so I'm going to cross off what I took out just to make sure that I know what's in my freezer still. And in this freezer I have some creme fraiche that I froze down back in December, where I got a lot of it. So I'm also going to take one of these bags out, and I will use it both in the chili con carne and in the topping. So it will get a little runny after it's been frozen, but it doesn't matter if you're putting it into some other dish. I also found these black beans that have been in my freezer for almost 4 years, so even though they're not keto, I will still use them up. And as I mentioned before, I will make a very big portion, about 20 big portions, serving sizes, so this little bag of beans doesn't matter in the long run. I also have these peppers from my garden. I will not take them out right now, but I will use them in 2 days when I'm making the chili. They don't need to thaw out like the other things. Under this table I have some of my canned stuff, and this is chili con carne base, and I will at least use one of these jars, maybe 2. I will see when I get along with cooking it. I also have these chipotle and adobo sauce that I made this fall, and I will also use one of these jars. And here in my pantry I have a lot of delicious things, but I think I'm going to use one of these enchilada sauces that I made in 2022. It's just a little jar, this one, but it will bring a lot of good flavor. And here I also have my almond flour, and I'm going to use this for my drop biscuits that will go on top of the chili con carne. Here I have my pumpkins. It was just a small harvest this year, but it doesn't matter, there's enough for us. And I could just take one of those smaller ones and use, because I'm not going to use that much. But I know that later on in the next week I will have to use some more pumpkins, so I'm going to take one of these big pink banana pumpkins and use. And it's just as big as a baby, as you can see. And I placed all of the stuff from the freezer in this tub so that they can thaw out in my fridge during the next 2 days. And I always put it in a tub, especially meat, so if something leaks I don't have it in the whole fridge. And now it has been thawing for 2 days, and I'm ready to go on with my chili con carne. So you can see just in this bottom rack here, and up here I also have one of these tubs that I'm thawing out some meat in for this evening. So we just have some pork chops and some salmon and so on. But now I'm ready to go on with the chili. And I also found a few onions in my pantry. Some of it is homegrown and some is store-bought. I don't have that many onions left now. Now I'm just going to brown all of the meat first before I will put in any of the veggies. I'm going to use some different kind of spices. This first one is homemade chipotle, smoked peppers. Then I have some black paprika and some sweet paprika or chilies, and the other two are store-bought. So I'm just going to put some of it in, and when I have spiced it all up, I will taste it and see if it needs any more. I'm also putting in some salt and pepper. And while the meat is frying up, I'm ready for my pumpkin. So I just brought it in and I will wash it up and cut about 1/3 off that I will use. And I will also remove the skin because it's a little tough, I think. And I'm also going to take my black beans and my shredded carrot and put it into a colander to drain them off because they are a little wet because they have been frozen. And while the pumpkin is drying a little, I will first of all chop up my onions because they will go into the meat when the meat is cooked off and browned well. I'm also using some of this tomato puree, and I will put it in the bottom of the pan so that it can get fried up. It will help with the acidity and the overall flavor of it. And look at how pretty this pumpkin is on the inside. It's my first time growing this kind of pumpkin, and I really like it. I think I will grow them the next year as well. I'm always using this kind of ice cream scoop to take out the seeds. That's a very easy way to do it. I also found this bag of grilled grilled cauliflower in my freezer, and I'm also going to use about half of this bag, and I'll just put it into the chili to give it some more filling. And now I'm ready to put some more spices into my chili. This is just some cinnamon, and it gives it a really nice taste. And you don't have to use it if you don't want to. I also have some cumin and some coriander, and I like these two spices a lot, but I don't like to put too much of them in because they will kind of take all of the flavor, so you can't taste anything else. And then some paprika and my pesto my homemade garlic pesto, and I'm just using this one big lump of it, and the rest will go into the topping. And now onto the different sauces. This is the chili base. It's a ball recipe, and I will try to find it and link it down below. So I'm just putting 1 jar of this in, and then I have my enchilada sauce, and it's pretty dark because of all of the dried chilies that are in there. And then my adobo sauce, and I don't use jalapenos in that. I just have different kinds of chilies, so I will take those chilies out and chop them up and just put the sauce in. And now I will bring in the almond flour so that I can make the drop biscuits that will go on top. And I will make a double portion, so the recipe I will link down below. You have to double it if you want to make the same size of a meal that I'm doing. I'm also going to take some of these eggs in, and these are from my own chickens. I will also use some broth in the chili, and I have all of these jars in my pantry, but I know that I also have some in my freezer, so I will use that up first. And I just froze some of the beef broth ice cubes, so they are really easy to portion out. And of course I'm also bringing in those peppers. I'm pouring the peppers into the other veggies, and then I can put the rest back into the freezer again because I'm not using them all. And I will weigh off the creme fraiche that I'm using in the drop biscuits, and then the rest will just go into the chili. And I'm just dumping the frozen broth into the chili as well. They will just thaw out. I just have the chili on a low heat, and now I'm going to put in my cauliflower. I just chopped it up into smaller pieces, and then I have the rest of my veggies here. But first off, I'm going to fill this cup up. And today's coffee will be cherry chocolate. It's a really nice flavor. I don't know if you have ever tasted these Cafe Royales. They have a lot of different flavors, and it's only coffee and the flavoring. There's no sweeteners or sugar or anything else in them. I will just have a moment to sit down and enjoy my coffee before I go on with the chili. Now I'm ready again, and I'm going out into the fridge where I have some Parmesan cheese that I will use in the drop biscuits. It's not in the recipe, but it tastes really nice, so that's why I'm using some of it. I'm also going to bring in some of this fresh sour cream that we will use when I have baked the chili, and I'm also going to take some more butter in if I need it. Now I'm putting in the cauliflower. And all of the other veggies, and then this will just sit for a little while. These veggies are not that raw, and those of them that are will cook up really easy and quickly. And now onto the topping. This is the recipe that I'm using, and as I mentioned before, I will make a double batch and put in some cheese and some of that garlic pesto and so on. But you can just go ahead and follow the recipe down below. I'm using my almond flour and some baking powder. This is 3 teaspoons because it's 1 tablespoon and I need 4, so just a little more than that. I'm also putting in some salt. And this is the dry ingredients, so I'm just going to mix them around and get the baking powder incorporated into the almond flour. And I'm also putting the cheese into this mixture and just mixing it around again to make all of those lumps go away. And then I'm ready for my wet ingredients. And here I have that creme fraiche that I measured out before. And into this I'm going to put my eggs in. And the rest of the garlic pesto. You can also put some other spices into this topping if you would like. This is just what I'm using because I know it tastes really good. So I'm going to mix this all up. And it will look just like this. And then I'm also going to take some of my butter, or this time I just use some ghee instead. It's something that I buy in Germany once in a while. I'm just putting this into the dry mixture before, and then I will put the rest of the wet ingredients into this and mix it all up. And this mixture is a little more firm than if you were to make a cornbread topping. So I'm using an ice cream scoop to put it onto the chili. You could also spoon it out onto a baking sheet and bake them, so they will be little drop biscuits and you can eat them that way. That's how the recipe is. I'm just going to put them onto my chili and bake it all up that way. I also have this jar of cowboy candy, so I'll put some of that into my topping before I will put it on the chili. I'm starting with 10 minutes and then I will see if it needs any longer. You're looking for a light brown color when it's done. And I have all of this chili left, so I'll just put that into some Ziploc bags and into the freezer. And this is just such a delicious, cozy and warming meal in a cold winter day. And most people wouldn't even think that this is keto and made with almond flour in the topping instead of corn flour. I just put some of the sour cream on top and then we are ready to eat. And we just had 1/3 of this tonight, and then I have all of this still left, so that this will just go into the freezer. And I emptied out my pot, so who will get that? Of course Holly will lick that out, and she's doing some quality control just to make sure that she got everything out of it, so it's just ready to put into the cupboard again. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope that you want to subscribe so my channel can grow, and I really want to help some other people lose weight as I'm doing myself. Maybe we can encourage each other to stay on track. Bye bye.